Hi, so we are going to talk about hydrocephalus. Hydrocephalus is a disorder of the brain that affects about 2 out of 1,000 infants born. It's known as water in the brain, but actually the water is cerebrospinal fluid and that is accumulating in the ventricles of the brain. Right there. This is a normal brain, and this is one with an accumulation of cerebrospinal fluid. The fluid increase leads to a widening of the ventricles in an abnormal way, which can cause brain issues, damage to the brain tissues. In a typical child, CSF flows through the ventricles and exits into the cisterns at the base of the brain and covers the surfaces of the brain and spinal cords, then reabsorbs into the brain. Patients with hydrocephalus, however, tend to overproduce CSF, which leads to overaccumulation because the CSF cannot reabsorb into the bloodstream quick enough. It can also result from narrowing of the aqueduct of Sylvius, a small passageway between the third and fourth ventricles of the brain. Both of these result in pressure against the tissues of the brain, which leads to a swollen appearance of the head and brain damage.
So since infants' brains or their skulls haven't been fully developed yet, this allows for the overswelling of the head, which is the most obvious symptom of hydrocephalus. And here's a picture, as you can see, the swollenness of the head. The other common symptoms are vomiting, sleepiness, irritability, and seizures. So the procedure to get rid of hydrocephalus is to insert a shunt, which redirects cerebrospinal fluid into other parts of the body. There are two types of shunts. One is ventriculoperitoneal and the other is ventriculoatrial, more commonly known as VP and VA shunts. So the VP shunt is going to redirect the CSF into the peritoneal cavity, whereas the VA shunt redirects CSF into the right atrium of the heart. And then here's a picture of what the shunt will do in the body. It'll redirect it here. So that's an example of the VP shunt. The success rate of these shunts are about 50%. That 50% will usually fail within the first 2 years of placement, which means that these children will need further surgeries to replace that. The two most common complications are malfunction and infection.